you, is this rampant inflation or job-killing recession? You have to order just one. What's it going to be? My next guest will definitely have an order for us, I'm sure. Please welcome to the show, Keith Fitz-Gerald. Keith, you got to order one or the other, a rampant inflation or a job-killing recession. What do you want?
Well, let's see. You want something that tastes bad or is cooked poorly? I mean, there's this.
I'm laughing because if I didn't laugh, I would cry.
Exactly. I mean, this stuff makes me downright angry, Scott, because it didn't have to happen. And now the Fed is not just between a rock and a hard place. They're totally off the map. It doesn't matter what they do. The Fed cannot fix this. And that's the sad part. We're being taken on a white-knuckle ride nobody deserved and nobody signed up for. So, do we want to get it over quickly or do we want a protracted peace? Powell has said repeatedly, we're not going to induce an inflation. We're going to focus diligently on this. Well, I got news for you, Mr. Chairman. If this is your idea of handling this thing gracefully, I'd hate to see what your idea of fixing this problem looks like. And by the way, get an open invitation. Let's talk sometime because I'd love to tell you what the American people are actually feeling in their wallets. Anyway, Scott, sorry, I digress.
No, you know what? That's a great example. And here's the deal. I mean, you're a well-respected guest of the show. We get a lot of things written about you all the time that are all very, very glowing and nice. And then also Dan, too. Dan Geltrude is very good. He was just on in the first segment. I think that between the three of us, we've got over 100 years of experience. And you can tell by our tone, all three of us, that we're angry because you're exactly right. This did not have to happen. And so we've got collateral damage left and right, which started with you got to shut your business down because we don't think that you should have a personal responsibility of staying open when we think people are getting sick. It's not your choice. It's our choice. Now everything is the government's choice. And that's the problem. We don't have people in charge here. And this isn't a political issue. I don't care who's in the White House. The energy situation would 100% solve our problem right now, but it's just outright ignored. It's like the school is burning down. And all we have to do is break the glass and get the hose out, but we don't want to cut our hand.
Well, and looking at this, right? What's the worst thing you can do out on a farm if you got a fire? Close the barn door after the horses have bolted. It doesn't matter, right? And that's the situation today. So again, is there a way through this? Yes. Is it going to be graceful? Absolutely not at this point. But I'm of the school increasingly that this is as bad as it's going to get. They need to pull a Volcker. They need to just slam the brakes on. They can't take their foot off the gas. They need to slam the brakes on. At the same time, the administration is just got no clothes, and everybody knows it except for these guys. Whether they're delusional or disingenuous, it doesn't even matter. This isn't a political issue. This is an economic situation where we've got the lunatics running the asylum, pun absolutely intended. I don't understand this. The Fed, for example, has got 400 plus PhD economists on staff. Everybody says, wow, they're going to fix things. I submit, newsflash, that's part of the problem. They don't know how businesses actually work. They've never had to make payroll. They don't understand what it means to put food on the table, keep a roof over your head, get that beef on the hoof and get it to the market. They don't know how that works. And that's the problem. They're in their mahogany-lined halls. The rest of us are out putting money on the table. This notion of we're going to go drive an EV because, hey, it's cool. Newsflash, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, people drive this stuff because it makes the country go around. It's because what they have and what they can afford. Gas was $2.38 when you came in. It's now over $5. That has nothing to do with your administration, anybody else's. It has everything to do with your pen. You took 25% of production out of capacity at the stroke of it. So put it back in. Squabble later. Fix the American people instead of sticking to your guns. Every leader, Scott, has a number. That's the point at which they reverse course. They seek fresh counsel. They change their plans. We're not seeing that out of Washington right now. That's what gets me riled up.
Well, as I said in the last segment, we have the key to the kingdom. We just won't want to put it in the door and turn it because we could get rid of a lot of this because the oil market's a futures market. You see what happened to it today. We're off about $8 a barrel. Yeah. If you would have just said some things, right? We're going to open up Keystone. We're going to build a refinery. Watch what happens to oil, and then watch what happens within a week at the pump for all of the Americans that are paying to fill their cars up with gas.
Exactly.
But they won't do that, and I don't understand why because it's almost like when you see Secretary Granholm, the Secretary of Energy, she says you got to pump more today so we can put you out of business in 3 years' time. I mean, who signs up for that? And I 100% am behind Exxon and their reply back to the administration. They've been putting in more than they've been getting out for the last 3 years. So here we sit with this, we have the answers, but we just don't want to do it. I don't understand.
Well, and that's the part, the arguments that are being floated out of Washington. And it's, again, I'm not going to do politics. There are people a lot smarter than me that can do politics all day long. I have to do money. What I know for a fact is that a company like Exxon has spent hundreds of millions of dollars over the past decade building supply, building capacity, building production. They're pumping 50% more crude right now than they did 5 years ago. So if you look at this market and you look at it logically, to say that they're not drilling, they're not doing, that is disingenuous, because in fact they are investing tremendous amounts of money doing it. They're going into debt to keep it moving. They're meeting demand. So if the president just suddenly wants to slam down on this, that's on him. That's not on the American people, and it's misguided at best.
Well, we just had the numbers out this week. I mean, I don't know what they're looking at. We're producing more oil this year than we did last year. We're 12 million barrels a day versus 11.2. I mean, it's right there. That's what your government's giving us that information. So that's disingenuous.
There you go with that
face.
Common sense stuff. There you go with that common sense stuff. You and I are not allowed inside the Beltway because that's how we operate, based on common sense.
Right.
They don't want reality to
You got me. You got me on that one. But how about this? I just heard you say that the Fed's got 400 economists on staff.
Something like that. I mean, don't quote me. That's not an exact number.
No, but I don't care if it's 100. That's way too many. How are you going to get consensus with that many people, even if it's over 50? I mean, over 15 is too much for me, if you ask me. I mean, that you're never going to come out with anything substantial. Have you ever been in a meeting with more than, say, 8 people? You don't get anything done. I don't understand. That's probably one of the big problems right there. You need to have 4 or 5 smart people and go, let's get after it, figure this out. Because this whole idea about what they've been putting together, like the Rorschach test, or little dot plots and all that garbage, you know what? Why don't you spend a weekend driving around the country and see what people are saying when that woman in front of me can only put $7 in her tank because she can't afford to put any more in? That'll give you an idea about what's been happening out there. You can tell I'm mad. I think you're mad, and I think Dan Geltrude's mad. And again, between the 3 of us, there's over 100 years of experience there, and that's got to tell the people something. I really appreciate you coming on today, Keith. Awesome content, awesome stuff. Have a great weekend. Get out on that bike.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, guys.
All right, brother. See ya. All right. By now, you know I've got my go-tos, and that's gold.